Hey guys, so I'm really excited about this video because it is my first segue into more of the education field on this channel, and so I'm really excited to talk about it. What the video is going to be about are my intentions as I move into training to be a school counselor, and hopefully this is thought-provoking for you guys. It will also be very helpful for me to look back on as I learn more about the school counseling field. I'll be able to better brainstorm how to carry through these intentions that I have. I'm also going to be connecting it to a really good book that I read and kind of what all is swirling around my mind after reading this book, and obviously in the position I'm in to be a school counselor. So I read this book this year, this one right here, called Troublemakers, and it is a really awesome read. So it is about a true story about this lady named Carla Shalaby, and she does 4 case studies, I would say, most closely related to a case study, but I don't know if she uses those exact words, on 4 children. So these are children who all were particularly causing trouble in their respective schools, in their respective classrooms. And she kind of explored the roots of their problems. She met the families, and she was just kind of there to explore the disconnect between these children and their behavior at school. So it was very interesting. And one thing that she stressed was that love and freedom and individuality are just not being promoted in our educational system, while conformity and obedience is praised. So that was really interesting for me because being a school counselor, right, you have the component of school and you have the component of counseling. So when I think of our school system in the United States, I feel like it is so dated. We're all still sitting in desks. We're all still, in the traditional classroom, listening to the teacher, writing notes. It has mostly been the same, consistent. But if you look at that other piece, counseling, I feel like the field of counseling has changed immensely. Way back when, it wasn't really a thing to go to a mental health counselor. You were just institutionalized, and if you had any mental health issues, you were crazy. As now, that stigmatism has gone down drastically, which is, obviously amazing to see. But you have this juxtaposition of really dated school system to advancing counseling and awareness for it. So it's cool to kind of think about being the middleman between these two things, and how am I going to advocate to kind of advance the school system to promote more individuality and love and freedom, while still fulfilling my position and prioritizing academic achievement. So that's kind of where I'm at. So if any of you guys are psych majors, Bronfenbrenner's theory, ecological systems theory. For those who don't know, it's basically you have your micro system, which is just as it sounds, your small system. You got your mom, your dad, your brothers, your dog, all those things that are very immediate in your life, things that are in your daily routine. And then you have your mesosystem, which is your home, your school, your neighborhood. Well, I guess your home would be more in your micro, but your school, your neighborhood, your community, your church, these things that aren't on an everyday basis, but on a weekly basis. And then you have your exosystem. So if you're looking as me as the individual, then in my exosystem would be my dad's workplace, or my mom's work schedule, or maybe in some cases the social media, things that not very, but indirectly affect me. And then you have your macro system, which is basically really the same for a lot of people, which is the federal government and religion and widely shared customs and laws and all these things that are very general to a lot of people. But basically his theory is that all these things affect each other, and I truly believe that. So it's, you have your school in your mesosystem, and then you have your family in your microsystem, and then you have all kind of these social, cultural forces at work in your macro system. So, and then, social media and stuff in your exosystem. So, like, I believe I'm also put here to kind of play tug of war with all these and kind of like shed light on how all of these pieces interact with each other and the interplay between them, and how can we promote academic achievement through improving these things, because like I said, they all affect the child, they all affect the individual. So it's all a great big machine with all these gears turning, and all the gears have to be turning in order for the machine to be operating correctly. So some ways I could think of doing this, you think of being in the school counselor position. And let's just say in this book, the very first profile she goes on is a little girl named Zora Williams. So she goes to like a suburban school, and she is half African American and half Puerto Rican. And she goes to this like very suburban, predominantly white school, and she just seems to like be exuding like energy, creativity, just flair, personality, color, vibrancy. Like she does stick out like a sore thumb. And she always wants like attention to be on her, and all these sorts of things, and it's getting her into trouble, at school. And this lady, Carla Shelby, she sees that she is very smart and she is extremely creative, but there's just a disconnect. Those things aren't being appreciated. It is just going downhill because she doesn't have that ability to sit there and focus and always be quiet and always do things exactly the way she's told. So she goes back to her house. She sees her house is filled with artwork, filled with poetry, filled with all these things. So I'm thinking of myself maybe in Shalaby's position, which is not exactly the kind of access I would have as a school counselor. But maybe, if I ask and, they tell me, their at-home life is completely different. They value the color and the loudness and the vibrancy and the creativity and all of those things. Maybe I try, to tell the teacher like, hey, this is a disconnect here between this child's home life and their school life, and probably their big values in their macro system and their cultural values, like they're valued to be more independent. Certain cultures rather than other cultures are valued to have like more collective beliefs. So kind of bringing those all together, like you have to be there and be an advocate for these children. So that's like my main word. Like I'm gonna try to be an advocate for these children, tell the teacher like, hey, maybe you need to get more like culturally responsive like materials and stuff that kind of show like the beauty of like all different cultures, and she like feels like she's included, because she's not in the main population. And maybe, hey, she has really amazing creative flair, she enjoys writing poems and artwork and things of these nature. Maybe you could give her, or honestly give the entire class like a little more of a free range on how to express themselves, or how to express that they comprehend a particular story or passage or whatever. And you're not saying change the whole curriculum for this one girl, because that's not realistic. It's schools have so many kids to attend to, but it's something that is benefiting everyone. None of these changes would be a detriment to any of the children, right? They're just learning more about other cultures. They're having more options. Maybe some kids will step out of their comfort zone, maybe some kids will get over a fear of public speaking if they decide to venture into a presentation instead of, always taking a multiple choice test. So all of these things are positive. It's not anything unrealistic or out there, but it's just that simple flip of the mind switch to be an advocate instead of just like diffusing the situation at hand, I feel like. So that's the thing that gets me most excited, is that I'm going to be that intersection between home life and school life and macro system and exosystem and, the child. So I think it's just, and also you're getting that child one-on-one. The teacher isn't getting that child one-on-one. They're getting them out of 20. So they're not going to be able to notice the problems, and, they might be more easily frustrated by their, distractions and their, distracting behavior. But I'm like, that's why it is your job to advocate for the child, because you're getting to know them on a more personal level. So I just feel like having that communication with the teachers, because they're the ones who are getting like that daily interaction with them, is in my head probably the best way to advocate for the kids and kind of just promote more love and more freedom and just more appreciation for individuality, at least in my school. Like I'm not unrealistic that I'm going to change every single school in the world, but I want to really make a big difference. So if I start in my school, and then I'm promoting certain things and certain events, like I would love to create an organization or like whatever the case may be, to like really advocate, and it's really important. So I just thought it was really interesting between this book and then just kind of looking at how schools are so dated, like the school system's so dated. I feel like it needs so much work in terms of like making confident, successful, unique adults, rather than just kind of like, formulating or teaching a child to prioritize that you have to be the same as everybody else. It's just not like that. So like I said, it'll be interesting for me to look back on this, because right now, like, my main thing is that kind of like you got to go to the source. You got to communicate with the teacher and the parents and the people who are in there every day to kind of like to kind of fuse that disconnect that is potentially between a child's home life and their school life. And then, like I said, you also got to look at political forces, cultural forces, all these things in the religious forces, all these things in the child macro system that could be affecting, but you don't necessarily have a representative to talk to about those things. But you just have to consider those things and how maybe you could solve those problems that might be arising that are rooted in that macro system. So I know I was a little all over the place today, and but this was just a topic I was really excited about, and I definitely want to like hear your guys' thoughts about like maybe what you think about our educational system. Do you think it's dated? Do you think, like, what do you think about the position of a school counselor? All these things. But yeah, my mom was just really buzzing at the moment. So to be honest with you, this was just kind of like an impromptu video to get my thoughts out there to you. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.